Hello, this is Coach Tim Campbell, and I'm your host for the Self-Made is a Myth, Make a Difference Together show, where we are talking with successful business owners to hear their story of their journey to building their business. And because we know that success in business is not something that we do on our own, we're taking time to recognize the folks who have helped us along the way. Today, I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us. My guest is check this out. He is above and beyond in terms of having a desire to care for and encourage others, which is awesome. We're going to hear a little bit more about that. In his downtime, he enjoys taking long road bike rides, and he's most proud of his amazing children who we're going to have him share with us here in a sec. So it is my pleasure to welcome Chris to the show today. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Coach Tim, how are you today? Good to see you.
I'm awesome. Thanks for asking. Well, hey, let's jump in with starting with having you introduce yourself. Tell us your name, a little bit of your personal story, like where you were born and live, and about your family and hobbies.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Chris Tincher. I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, but we've been here in the Indianapolis area since 1998. So Indianapolis is home for us now. I've been married to my wife, Amber, for 29 years, and she is beautiful. She's a beautiful wife, and she's a great support. We have three children. So we have twin daughters, Chloe and Jasmine, 17. They're seniors this year in high school. And I have a son, Reece, who's a freshman in high school. And they're amazing kids. They are so talented. They're all involved with all kinds of extracurricular activities. So we used to joke quite a bit that we used to be the Uber parents. But the blessing as they get older, even though they are getting older, is that they can drive. So that's great. So, but they're very talented. They're involved in arts. My daughters have been dancing since they were 3. So that's really their passion in music. And my son plays football. So prior to that, I just want to say my Christian faith has been very instrumental in my life. So it's been important to me, and it's kind of shaped me to the person I am. For hobbies, you've already mentioned I like the road bike, so that's love to get out and experience new places, and you're able to do that on the road bike. I've been riding since as a small kid, but enjoy going out and being outdoors. So love hiking. I used to do a lot of camping. We just got some kayaks, so we've been out in the water doing some kayaking.
Nice.
Just anything to get me outdoors. All my cars, last few cars I've had have all been convertibles. So I love putting the top down, getting the fresh air. Even my new truck has a sunroof and a window that comes down. So just enjoy just being in the outdoors, taking in God's beauty, and just enjoying some fresh air.
Very cool. Hey, Chris, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
Absolutely. So I have a habit, at least 5 times now, I've either left my credit card or wallet behind, either at a restaurant we've been on a trip. So it's really funny now. So they always ask when we're getting up from the table, Dad, do you have your wallet? Right. So one particular time we had stopped at a place. We were traveling. We were actually taking a family camping trip, and we actually had to go back 60 miles to get my wallet.
Oh,
So yeah, kind of put a little bit of delay in our trip, made
yeah.
it longer. But the interesting thing is I never leave my cell phone behind. So it shows how important those cell phones are, right?
Right? Yeah. Well, hey, I don't know if you're familiar with the AirTag technology, but that thing is a huge blessing. It'll ping
Mhm.
your phone when you're a certain distance away from it to let you know that you might have left it behind. So that might be a good investment for you to stuff in your wallet.
Absolutely.
Hey, Chris, tell us how did the business come about, and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own franchise?
Absolutely. So I was in the hotel industry for 12 years, kind of did everything you can imagine in the hotel. Late, I was a sales manager and general manager. But at that point, hotels are 24/7. So I was kind of looking to do something a little bit different.
Mm.
I was pursuing, where can I be an entrepreneur? What business could I start? And I thought, why not the restaurant business, right? Go from the hotel to restaurant business. But very interesting. We were visiting a church here on the west side of town, and I had the opportunity to meet a Chick-fil-A franchise operator who was actually going to open the first restaurant here in Indianapolis. Got to connect with him and know him a little bit. And he told me about the opportunity with Chick-fil-A. I said, hey, this is something that's really interesting. So we had more conversations, and was learning about Chick-fil-A, and I knew that basically it was a great company, had great culture and values, and matched my values. So I think this is going to be a great fit. So he allowed me to come into the restaurant to work a couple of weeks after he first opened, and realized that, hey, this is something that I could commit my life to and do. Had a lot of people that had poured into me over my years in leadership, and I knew this was something I wanted to pursue. So later that year in 2002, had the opportunity to be selected and run a Chick-fil-A franchisee. So, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is a great verse for me. I really considered it a God moment when I met Lou Leckrone, who was that operator. And just basically it says, is trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understandings, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your paths. And it's really great to see as business owners as we trust the Lord and we pursue things or we connect with others, how he is at work and directs our path, which is pretty cool.
Well, the cool thing about the Chick-fil-A, if my understanding is correct, is so the restaurant business is typically a 24/7, just like the hotel industry. However, you don't work Sundays, right? The restaurant's closed on Sundays.
Absolutely. So that was one of the great things. So that was one of the other things that drew me to Chick-fil-A, is actually being closed on Sunday, which really created the opportunity, no matter how busy or how crazy things may get in the restaurant business or with Chick-fil-A. I knew I always had that Sunday off to refresh and recuperate, go to church and spend time with family. It is a unique heritage about Chick-fil-A, and it's been part of our story and culture since the very beginning. Yeah, in 1946.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit more about your business. Obviously the name's Chick-fil-A, but what do you guys do? How do you help people, and what makes you guys unique and different from other restaurants in the industry?
Yeah. So I'm a franchisee with Chick-fil-A. Been doing that now for 20 years. What's very unique about us is really kind of our foundation, where it starts, and it starts with our purpose, which we're to glorify God, but being a faithful steward of all that's entrusted to us, and to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. The neat thing about Chick-fil-A is really we're more than just a restaurant business. We believe that the chicken sandwiches is just a vehicle to allow us to have a positive influence both on our team members and our guests. So for us, it's about providing a great experience for our customers. The American Service did an index survey, just did a survey on customer service, and Chick-fil-A for the 9th consecutive years is ranked #1 in customer service, which is a great accolade. But I will tell you that we work really hard at it. We don't take that for granted. We know that customers have high expectations, but we do our very best to make sure that we're providing great customer service, making it fast and accurate, and wanted to make sure we take care of our guests. But we believe that we develop trust with our customers, and people enjoy coming to Chick-fil-A because of how we take care of our guests. What's kind of unique about Chick-fil-A and kind of the differentiator for us is the franchisee, the operator, is actually involved in I won't say the day-to-day operations, but we're present in the restaurant, present in our communities. Yeah. And so typically we don't have 10, 15, 20 restaurants. We have one or two where we can really invest in our team and our community. It makes it a big asset for our business.
Very cool. Hey, tell us. I know you had a team challenge of something about the drive-through and going from 500 to 1. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had just experienced a remodel at our restaurant. So basically, we went from a single line drive-through to a double lane drive-through. And as we're thinking about during that reinvestment period, when we were actually closed for about 6 weeks, we met with the leadership team and said, hey, what are some things we want to go after? We knew that basically with the new capacity in our restaurant that we could achieve some amazing things. So one of the goals that we set was having the premier drive-through experience. So we kind of looked where we were, so we were able to look at some data to kind of see where we ranked in the chain. So we started at 500 late, 2019. And we put a lot of focus on it. So I think when you have a big go, the whole team's working together to focus on this one goal, you see some amazing results. So we worked hard at it. We made changes. We made small incremental changes to what we were doing. We saw ourselves go from 500, then to 18, and then #1 in the state of Indiana. And eventually, September 2020, we actually got to #1. So basically, what it does, it measures the drive-through experience, measures your drive-through sales, order accuracy and customer experience inside the drive-through. So it was pretty cool that we could say little old Avon, Indiana was number one in all, and all, 3,000 Chick-fil-A restaurants. It was pretty cool. We set a high standard, so it was a great thing to achieve. But I think more than anything, it just taught the team, you know what, we can go for big things, and when we work together, we're better, and we can accomplish some amazing things. So it was great to have this big goal and to accomplish it.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. Did I hear you say that you were closed for 6 weeks for renovations?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of that is we extended the building and went from a single lane drive through to double lane. So yeah, interesting time, but it was a great time to just have a refreshing time and take care of the team and just make sure, kind of reset ourselves a little bit, which is great. As business owners, we don't get sabbaticals, right?
Right?
So it's really hard. But it was just a blessing to be able to take that 6 weeks and to refresh and pour myself back into the business once we reopened. So it was a really special time.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on getting to number one. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Chris, share a story where someone pushed you or inspired you that you could do it, even though maybe you didn't think that you could, and the impact that that person had on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was basically about the same time, 2019. And it's a great thing about Chick-fil-A is we're in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. So we have plenty of consultants that, as a part of a franchise, that we can reach out to. But I had a great friend named Dean Laws, who was kind of a consultant to me, came along beside me and said, "Hey, Chris, you can accomplish great things. You have a great opportunity here." So really, he just kind of encouraged me. It's one of those things with a little accountability, kind of ask the right questions, set the right goals. With encouragement, inspiration, those things can happen. So, we would run down on the canal down in Indianapolis and have early morning, have some great conversations. And he was a great athlete, great runner. But you know what was he showed a lot of humility. So he was able to meet me where I was at my, a 10-minute mile pace when he was at 6 mile pace. But he was there for me. And I think that sometimes that's what we need as business owners is to connect with someone who meets them right where they're at, ask the right questions and walk forward. But what happened was we saw incredible results in our business. So we improved in our food safety scores. We ended up being elite. Obviously talked about that drive-through metric that we hit to get to number one. And it's one of those things where it is when people encourage you, you can do so much more.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've probably seen a lot of things in the last 20 years. So what would you say is your biggest learning as a business owner?
I think that the biggest learning I've had is, whether it's 10, 20 years, 30 years, what I've always been encouraged is the leaders must continue to learn. Leaders must always grow. And what you don't want to do as a business leader is have the same year over and over again for 20 years. You want to see yourself continue to grow throughout that time in your business, because what can happen is your business continues to grow. If you don't grow at the same pace or exceed the pace that your business is growing, you're going to end up being the lid on your business. So it's really important that you invest in yourself to make sure that you're staying ahead, because there's nothing worse than getting swallowed by your business, and just being overwhelmed. And that's where you have to reach out and the network and have mentors and have other business associates that you can kind of connect with. But it is about always getting better and surrounding yourself with people that will encourage you and inspire you to get better.
I love that. I think it was Lou Holtz that said that we're either growing or we're dying. And so his challenge is to make sure that we're constantly looking at how we're investing in ourselves to make sure that we're growing. So I love that as your key learning, and very, very good advice for those listening to the show today. What would you say to that vein? What's been the best learning environment or opportunity that you've had the ability to take advantage of? What's been most helpful for you in terms of the way that you learn?
Yeah, I think for me is we have to go first. So I think we have to reach out and connect with others. So for me, and it's greatly, I mentioned I'm part of a franchisee, so it does provide me some opportunities and resources maybe as an independent person, a business person, they might not have, you know. So for me, it's about I've got a network of other franchisees here in Indianapolis that we meet with on a bi-monthly basis, talk about the business, challenge each other. But you know, outside of that too, I've committed to make sure that I have a mentor. I knew that I needed someone in my life that's gone before me, and to be able to, you know, every 3 weeks sit down with him, talk about life, talk about business, where he's come from, where he went, and then him to just to kind of pour into me a little bit. Also, too, I'm involved with a business forum, so we're a group where some business leaders get together, talk about business issues, and lastly, just being a part. I'm a part of a men's prayer group, so
Mm.
one of those things just to encourage to talk about the things that are going on personally and professionally, and be able to talk about that and to pray for each other, encourage each other. So what I've learned really is just just surround yourself with people that want the best for you, want to help you, and when you get involved in those groups too, not only do you benefit, but actually you can add value to other people as well, which is pretty beneficial. So
I love that because it can be very lonely at the top, right? Where we're dealing with a whole bunch of different things throughout the day. And in some cases, we don't want to take that burden home to our family. So sometimes we just hold on to it. So I love that. I love the different outlets that you mentioned in terms of ways to be able to share that burden with others and get advice and tips and and encouragement and prayer to help to work through those things, because as a business owner there's constantly stuff going on, right? There's always new opportunities and challenges that we're faced with.
yeah, absolutely. I think when I was a manager and I had someone that supervised me or encouraged me, it's great because you got good feedback all the time, right? Both
Yes.
positive, negative things can improve. But when you become the top leader in your organization or the business owner, there's no one else out there. So
Right.
you have to create that network. I just recently went to the Global Leaders Summit and heard one of the speakers say that 58% of Americans right now are lonely. And then she began to talk about leaders, and 78% of leaders, when surveys say, "Hey, I'm lonely," and being a leader is a very lonely place. I mean, it can be really challenging. So I think that's the encouragement, is to reach out, and we all go through times where we can want to pull back and isolate.
Yeah.
Things can get really tough and
Yeah.
difficult, and that's
Yes.
where we really have to press in and say, "Hey, I do need to reach out. I do need to connect." So to have a better outcome. So
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that, because what did you say it was, 78% of business owners
78%, right? Yeah.
yeah, can feel lonely. Well, and then, we look at social media and it looks like everybody's got it all together and everybody's doing great. So then we tell ourselves a lie that it's just me. And so then we are more apt to isolate because we don't want to embarrass ourselves when it looks like everyone else has got it figured out. Well, that's all a lie. Nobody's got it all figured out, right? We all need community. We all need one another to get through these things. So if you're listening to this and you're one of those people who are nervous about admitting that you don't have it all figured out, let me be the first to say most of us don't. We're just doing the best we can, and like Chris said, we're relying on others to help guide and direct us. So get yourself plugged in somewhere and find a community that makes sense for you to be part of, and don't feel like you have to do it on your own.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So one of those things is we're creating trust with our teams or inside our organization with other leaders. One thing is just to be transparent. And I think for me, that's really hard, to be vulnerable and transparent, to talk about our weaknesses, and not that we want to get real personal on some things, but I think it's okay to be honest about what's going on in the business, and talking about those things, because I think that's when our team members, our leaders, and other people in our organization can relate to us more when they see we are human. I think sometimes they look at the business owner as being perfect, or having it all together, and we sometimes want to project that image. Not we want them to know that they can trust us, and we want to say, "Hey, I I've got the answers," but the reality is sometimes we don't. And I think that's why, even if it's outside or even inside, I think even inside your organization, you can look at your leaders, and they all have something to bring to the table. Most likely somebody in your organization has a solution to the problem that you're facing today. It's just, listening and giving the opportunity for that to come out to the table to kind of work on that.
I love it. Chris, we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation. So tell us about one of your biggest challenges during the years, and maybe a fellow business owner who came alongside you and helped you get through that.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things for me is I was always a doer. So I mentioned that I spent a lot of 12 years in the hotel industry and even the restaurant industry. It's real easy, or in a business for me personally, it's real easy. I love doing that. I love serving people. But what happens is the business owner, you can only do what Andy Stanley would say. You can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
And no one else can lead the business. No one else can set the vision,
Right.
the business strategy. Has to be the business owner. So I think for me is I actually got to learn from another franchisee here in Indianapolis named Rick Johnson. Rick Johnson he began to make some changes, subtle changes in the organization, where he began to build a high performance leadership team who
Mm,
he empowered to run the day-to-day business so he could kind of focus on the things that a CEO should focus on.
yes.
And I think for me, that was an interesting transition. I kind of took that as a model and said, hey, you know what, if I'm going to grow this business, if I'm going to multiply even myself, what changes do I need to make? And sometimes it's kind of hard because you really have to, it's a change in mindset,
Yeah.
really, to be able to do that. And you have to trust the people that you work with. And, sometimes you say, how can you trust people? Well, you don't know if you can trust them until you trust them, right? So
Yes.
you gotta pour into people. But what I did is I worked on building a tremendous leadership team and that's very talented that I could trust and rely on to run the day-to-day operation. So then I could kind of focus on other things that a CEO should be focused on. So, but that's a hard transition though. It's
Yes.
hard it's kind of muddy as you kind of work through that. And especially when you enjoy being with the public, be with the customers or with team members, you just realize if you want your business to grow, then you have to grow and change and adapt. Early on, I think when you start a business or if you have a small business, the CEO or the business owner is doing everything in the business,
Yes.
maybe doing the estimates and the quotes and clean
Yes.
the bathroom and all those type of things. But eventually you can't do that if you want to continue to grow the business. So what I experience is just relying on a team and you go through a season. It's really a journey. I've been on a 20-year journey, so it doesn't happen overnight, but
Yes.
begin to pace yourself and say, okay, where do I want to go in the future? What does our organization need to look like? What do I need to be doing as a CEO, and make some decisions, those incremental decisions right now to get you to where you want to go.
There's really kind of three main phases of that mindset shift that has to happen. So we all start out as employees, and then those of us who have gone into business for ourselves, we become owner operators.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where, to your point, where we're doing a lot. And in some cases, it's out of necessity, right? We've got to figure it all out and get things working. And some of us start only, having ourselves as the employee. So we do have to do all the do. But then, so that there's a shift there from the employee mindset to being the owner of having to hold ourselves accountable and do the do and make sure that we're following up on things. But then the next shift is typically tends to be even harder, which is going from doer to strategic thinker and planner, right? And that CEO mindset, like you were talking about, it's a big shift because letting go of the stuff that we got really good at is hard, and trusting others to be able to do it for us, right? But the reality is, and I love what you shared, because the reality is if we want to get to that next level, right, and have a business that can run without us, we have to learn how to let go. And if we don't let go, we'll end up getting burnout. And we've all met people who have burned out by working too long and too hard, right, and just doing that hustle and grind. And so it's critical for our long-term success that we go through that evolution and learn how to become a CEO and have a CEO mindset versus the doer mindset. So I love that you shared that. Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. Well said.
Chris, if I asked you to pick, I'm going to put you on the spot here, to pick
Uh-oh.
three people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for them being there for you. Who are those three people and how they help you?
Yeah, so the first one I would say is Brian Skinner. So Brian is the one that gave me really the next big opportunity at Chick-fil-A. So I was actually was in a mall restaurant, and obviously to continue to grow, I knew having a freestanding restaurant that would be more in the community, I think would be an opportunity, a great opportunity. So he gave me that opportunity. He saw my personal growth and what I was doing to get better as a business owner, and he gave me that first opportunity. Set some challenges for me, and actually helped me kind of succeed in the early years. And then after that, I've already mentioned Dean Laws, but I have to mention him again because he was that inspiring leader that came alongside me, showed a lot of humility, but he was there for me. And I think I would say as a leader, I think for us, I think the hardest person to lead is ourselves, right? As the
Mhm.
business owner, right? Because we're at the top. But I think when you have some people beside you that can encourage you and ask your goals and hold you accountable,
Yes.
you go a lot further. So Dean Laws would be another one, and then the third it would be Lance Hicks. So Lance, and this was in the last probably year and a half. He was a consultant with Chick-fil-A. They kind of encouraged me and supported me as Chick-fil-A was kind of looking for growth here in our area. They decided that they wanted to open a second restaurant in our trade area. So he kind of walked through the process with me for me to become a multi-restaurant operator with Chick-fil-A, which doesn't happen very often. And only about 15% of our Chick-fil-A operators have the opportunity to operate a second location or go multi-unit. So very blessed by the opportunity, but he kind of walked me through that process to make sure that we were ready. Part of that is you have to be ready for these opportunities that come up, and he kind of guided us through it and made sure that we were ready for that opportunity. So those would be the three individuals that have been really made an impact in my life.
Fantastic. As you think about the next 3 to 5 years, what are the biggest challenges that you see that you're going to face in reaching your goals? And who are the types of people you're going to need to resolve those challenges?
Yeah, absolutely. So in our industry, in the restaurant industry, there's all kinds of challenges. Supply chain challenges, obviously, always trying to recruit great team members. But I think really what it boils down to is I can only control what I can control. I can't control other industries, the trucking industry, and things like that. So I can only influence my sphere of influence. So I think for me, I think personally as a business owner, is I want to focus on my team members. So I think for me, it's continuing to focus on our value proposition and then care for the team members, making sure that we have the best opportunity for team members that are looking for employment, that we are that brand or we are that restaurant that's going to meet that need. So, and that's where I really get so much joy from, is really helping others. So anything that I can do to give back and make it a better experience, I think is great. So that's on the team member side. And I think also for our customers, our customer base our customers, just the expectations and I won't say demands, but expectations continue to change.
Mm.
And we all want what we want right this moment, where we're at and
Yes.
when we want it, right? There's been all kinds of technology changes throughout the year, but Amazon is that one I just think about that, I mean, if you think of it, they have it, right? I mean, it's amazing. They can get it to you that day or the next day. So I think for us, even the restaurant industry is thinking how a customer thinks. They want to be able to order how they want to order. They want to, when we think about Chick-fil-A and some of our what we call service channels, so they can get it in the drive-through, they can do curbside, we can deliver it to them, and it's just being very innovative in how we take care of our customers. So we're thinking the next few years, it's okay, how do we meet that demand? So for me, then it's okay. I have to build a leadership team or continue to pour into our leaders and make sure they're ready. So for us, it's paramount that our leaders in our organization are continuing to grow. Not only do I not need to be the lid, I need to continue to grow, but also I need great leaders in the business who are going to continue to grow. So we've made the investment to make sure that we're developing our leaders. So we have a leadership development program that we do internally to make sure we're connecting with leaders and help them grow both professionally and personally, and just making sure that we listen to them. And so you already mentioned they already have solutions to our problems, but if we're all working together, we're all growing together, I think we can rise up and meet those challenges in the future.
Fantastic. I know that just how you're hardwired, that you typically go above and beyond to help take care of others and encourage and motivate others. What's something unique that you guys do, or that you've introduced, that maybe would be inspirational for others to hear about? What's something that you do to help grow and develop your team that maybe is unique to you?
Yeah, so I think maybe a couple of things. So one, I think is, especially coming out of the pandemic, I think that was a very difficult time for everyone. We're still seeing the effects, things we learned or experienced or the isolation we felt. And I think one of the biggest things that I would say that has come out of that is a greater awareness of mental health and the kind of the mental health kind of challenge. And so one thing we kind of looked at is, hey, that's important. People are bringing their whole selves into the restaurant, both customers and team members, right? And we bring that. We can't expect people to leave things at the door. I mean, things can impact them. So for us, one of the commitments we made, and maybe an encouragement to others, is we invested in a workforce chaplaincy program. So we actually have a chaplaincy program that comes in to. They'll come in a couple of times, about once a week, to connect with our team members. There's prayer hotline, and so anytime a team member
Cool.
might have a need, they can reach out. So I think just supporting your employees that way, providing a benefit or added value where we can really help them, especially in a need. So I definitely think that that would be a great thing. And just also too, just we talk about that leadership development. So we made that commitment to have that monthly time where we bring about 30 leaders together around a topic, where we would either listen to a podcast or another video, or bring in a guest speaker. But maybe we actually just had our chaplain come in and talk about leading with empathy,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
empathy is something that understanding what other people are kind of going through and how to relate, and just knowing how to talk to somebody, how to listen, and understand when there's a behavior, there's probably a reason behind that behavior. And just asking the right questions, and sitting down and listening of why someone always comes in late, or
Mhm.
why someone's acting a certain way. Sometimes there's deeper things going on there. So I think that that's key too. But just constantly getting better, but and providing those benefits for the team.
Yeah, I love your philosophy and actually putting it into practice of, taking care of the team, doing what's right, going above and beyond. So congratulations and thank you for sharing as a inspiration and a model for those listening to think about how they might be able to invest more in their teams as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, last question here. Jim Rohn said that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So, as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are trying to do it on their own, who don't think that they should reach out to others, or don't think that they need help? What would you say to those folks?
Yeah, I would say make time. I think sometimes we think we don't have enough time,
Yeah.
or we don't have enough. Sometimes it might cost too much. But I would just say that really just taking the opportunity to reach out. Sometimes I already mentioned, you just need to go first. Sometimes it's a little scary to ask someone else to meet for coffee, or just to branch out to maybe even a competitor or someone else in your industry, or maybe someone outside your industry, just be able to connect. But I think you just have to take that kind of risk, and just know that you have to reach out. I mentioned some of the groups that I've kind of surrounded myself with, and I just think it's very important. I think we are definitely better together. I don't think it's a slogan. I think it's true and it's
Mm.
real. You can accomplish so much more when someone's there walking for you. And the reality is, you can make some poor choices, and if you don't have someone else in your life, because we already talked about that, we're difficult to lead. We kind of dictate our own schedules, and
Yes.
and we're basically a sum of all the decisions and things that we do and make. So I think it's important that it's good to get some good counsel and advice from others, and let them speak into your life.
Yeah. I like what you tying back into what you said earlier about, when we were an employee, we always had a manager that would, hold us accountable and guide and direct us and kind of push us beyond even what we might have thought we were capable of. Well, when we become a business owner, we tend to lose that. Right? And so the reality is that we don't push ourselves as much as we could, right? We don't do as much as we could if we stay in our own comfort zone. So I like what you're saying of having those outside influences actually help us to do more and accomplish more and be more successful than we would be able to on our own.
That's correct. Absolutely.
So, hey, Chris, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your business owner journey that have helped you along the way. If they were all here on the show today, what would you want to say to them?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for joining me on the journey, and making a difference in my life. And when you think about it, it doesn't take very much to kind of pour into people, and I'm just so thankful for them. They took the chance on me. They poured into me. They asked the questions. They spent time with me. They encouraged me. But I'm very grateful for them. And I will just say to them that I'm a better dad, a better business owner because of their investment in me. And I guess really the best way for me to say thank you is if I give it away too.
Mm.
If I pour into others, if I pour into other leaders and empower them and help them along the way as others have helped me along this journey.
Amen to that. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Coach Tim. It's been my pleasure.
To everyone who tuned in, thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show with your host, Coach Tim Campbell. Be sure to help us spread the movement by liking the show and posting about it on your social media. And to join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Make sure to pay it forward, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.